I was sitting in church one Sunday and I had no idea, Karen, it was going to be my dad's last sermon. I had no idea. I thought he was going to live a whole long life because he had a liver transplant, and he didn't drink or anything, but somehow his liver went bad and he ended up having a liver transplant. And so we all thought he was going to live a long life. However, I did see he was so pale all the time. I didn't understand that, but that weekend is when my dad started having a lot of strokes, that weekend after his sermon. And during the sermon, he's talking about David and Goliath. And my dad said, use the tools that God put in your hand. At that very moment, the Lord said, pick up your mic. And I was like, what? I'm arguing with God. I was saying, pick up my mic. I said, I haven't broadcasted it in, by this time, probably 8-9 years. I'm like, who's going to listen to me? So I'm having this back and forth with God. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, God, right? As if I'm the all-knowing person, right? And God has a plan and a purpose for each thing that he asks us to do. I still, honest to God, I still don't know why me, out of everyone in the world and there's people with massive audience out there. God, why do you want me to pick up my mic? I'm a mom by now. I've been doing the mom thing for a long time and I was content. Doing it. I knew at some point I wanted to get back into the broadcasting realm, but I was content, But he said, pick up my mic. And during this time, when he told me to pick up my mic, we had the Maricopa County audit going on. We had COVID going on. So we had election fraud and COVID, and things weren't sitting well with me. So the timing was perfect because I already knew what I wanted to talk about. I was watching people online talk about my county that live in other states when I live right here. I said, that's enough of that. I can get on there. I can tell you what's going on in my own county. I don't need to listen to anybody else. And so that kind of started my journey of restarting the Amber May show, of starting Amber May Productions LLC. And I'll say, without my husband's support, I couldn't do what I'm doing. He has supported me. And when we made that decision, I had done before we had talked about going back to work, I'd already started the podcast because at that point my kids were still young, because we're talking about kindergarten and preschool age when I started doing this again. And so I've been doing this for a few years, and I had the conversation, said, do I go back to work? Or God, if you want me to go back to work, you told me to do this. So either you want me to stop doing what I'm doing, or you're going to make a way for me to keep doing what I'm doing because you told me to do it. And every time I get to that point, Karen, where I feel like I don't know if I should keep going, God always gives me some encouragement, keep going in some form or fashion. So we had the conversation, me and my husband, and he said, I want you to continue to do your show. I'm the husband. I'm going to take care of you and the kids. You just keep doing your show and take care of the family. I said, okay, I think I got my message from God.
That's fantastic. I love your story. I love the fact that you preferred motherhood, and that yet your dream that God had given you really young, it was still there, and God gave you that space to step back into it. And I was going to ask you, was there a little bit of a hesitancy to step back into this initially when you first heard those 4 words, pick up your mic?
100%. I'm like, I don't want to just speak out to nobody and nothing, and this realm is pretty new. Podcasting had just started when I was at the radio station. However, it was just audio only, and it was uploads. There wasn't I don't remember at that time there being live shows. Again, the iPhone had come out, the apps have come out, and then podcasting just came out with the iPods. And so it was brand new. And so I took my radio show and I put it on iTunes. Essentially, I used Podbean. It went out to iTunes and a couple other places, but predominantly it was all audio. And what we're doing now is not something we could have done back then, because back then it was going to cost us a lot of money. Back then I would have needed a really specialized telephone line to do it from home. If back then, I'll tell you, when I interned at Fox 10 in early 2000s, they were still doing editing beta to beta tape. Their digital editing just started coming in the early 2000s. And the first digital editor they had was in the promotions department. They didn't even have it in the newsroom yet. So the technology wasn't there. You know, God's timing's so perfect.